Today, our guest for today is Gyan Prakash Kesarwani. Gyan is one of the most leading, youngest entrepreneurs in the world of legal entrepreneurship. Those in the audience who do not know, he is the founder of one of the most profound publication houses called Vidhi Agaz, Inking Your Brain, which owns many index journals and international papers. Welcome, Gyan. We are so happy to have you here.
Thank you. Same here.
So I would like to start by asking you that I'm really curious to know what gave you the idea of entrepreneurship and how do you manage to do it with your schoolwork? Because when we think of a law student, the first image that comes to our head is students managing notes, research assignments, internships, etc., etc. So it's sort of baffling to me as to how you handle so much on your plate.
I never thought it like an entrepreneurship at the initial stage. I even did not think that I earn out of it. When I started, it was just a normal journal. I wanted just initiate with a journal because the publication what I was at its initial stage, and I got a few faculties like Pooja ma'am and Khushbu ma'am who had really good number of publication, very reputed journals. And when I won my first moot in my first year, the freshers moot at my institute, I got into the eyes of everyone and I got along with these faculties a lot. So they taught me how to research, and further, since I was working with my father from the age of 10, he's an advocate. So I had a very sharp eyes about the formatting and editing things. So after that, when I initiated, there were a lot of issues, no doubts. But initially, I just had to cope up with my exams as well as my work. With time, when I went into doing more moods, more competitions, like I won a lot of awards in between, agreed. I did those competitions, but at the end of the day, I will agree to the fact that I had some issues with the studies. I even had to work at the time of my institute's exam. So it is tough, but yeah, if you are managing your time, you can do it. And at the end of the day, every student has that extra 3 4 hours of the day where he can just work for own self. So when I come back to my institute, I just sleep for 2 hours and then I start working till late night, and then I sleep and go back to my institute at 7. So it wasn't tough at initials because there was no work. But with time, when I went into doing moods, I had much more work. It became difficult, but there comes your team. I had a lot of people to work for me and work with me. I had Pooja ma'am seeing around all the editorial jobs. I had Amniti seeing around all the administrative works. So I had a very good team. With time, I made that team. People joined us and they started working so good that we can manage it accordingly and we can have everything going very fluently. So that's how it worked for me.
Okay, great. That's
It's
very
about a team, not a single person.
right. That's exactly what every organization, successful organization, is about: the team and not the individual person. So,
Exactly.
please do tell us that what were some of the major challenges that you recall facing being an entrepreneur at such a young age? And do you
There
think
are a
you
lot of
had,
issues.
okay, sorry, go on.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, no, please ask.
So, do you think that you had some sort of advantage being a student over other entrepreneurs?
If I go with your first question, there are a lot of issues being a student entrepreneur. Firstly, though I was working with my father from the age of 10, as you know. So I came to this law field because I had the knowledge of motor vehicle act cases, and my father was very sure about I can take his position at initial stage. So I initiated with it. I had all the knowledge of motor vehicle act cases. I have defended those cases sitting at the office. So when I initiated, there were issues like no one wanted to believe me that I can do it. I can initiate with such a different era of law which did not get introduced earlier. So it was completely new to me and to my family too. So firstly, there was an issue. Why don't you come and just work and just know more about the work and can read more so that it can help you out in future? So there were family issues initially, though when everyone looks around you and see you growing up, they get along with you. And at present, my father don't ask me to even work for a second with him. He just go along with me. How many papers did you receive? What happened? So they are very happy now. But at initial stage, as a student entrepreneur, you need to manage your work as per your family too. So managing all these things is a bit difficult. And the second most important thing that I felt is, as a student, people don't believe that you are an authority. So at some stage, you need to prove that you are an authority by your work. So if it takes 6 months for a person who is 28-year old and have a good degree of law, he will take just 6 months, right? As I said, for me, it took around 1.5 years to establish myself as an authority. By myself, I mean the organization, and to show that we have something. And as on today, we work with the Supreme Court advocates, High Court advocates, and everyone. But at the initial stage, you need to hold your area and you need to continue with it. The time management issues, as you said, you need to maintain everything. If you are not getting your marks, you are doing wrong with yourself and your family at the end of the day. You need to learn. It is the learning stage. And I should tell you that it is very difficult to work along with learning, because you don't get the time to read your book. At one instance, what happened is, I just got stuck at one phase that I don't want to work anymore. It's so much for me. I'm not being able to learn. And then I started reading a few books like A Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. And I was all about, I'll just go away with the work and I won't work anymore. But at the same stage, I read a few books more. And after reading, you get to know whatever you are going through, you need to go through it, and you need to crack it. So at present, if I see myself being into those situations, I feel that I worked on it. I had the backup of my team, and I must say there's an instance that we were going to organize our first conference, that is ViaCon, and it was a physical conference. As an organization, it gets very difficult to have a physical conference because you need a lot of people working around you, because there's food arrangements, there's travel arrangement, there's a lot. So as a student, it becomes difficult to manage everything. And at the end,
Hello.
the as your backbone, they help you out. But those are the issues you get as a student, because you do not have that much amount of money as well as that much liberty to work, because at the end of the day, you are a child at your home and you are a child at your learning institute. You don't have all the liberty to do anything in your life, and that's the major issue I felt. So there are a lot of issues, I agree, but at the same time, every entrepreneur has his own issues and has his own problems too. So if you don't crack that open, you won't be able to be successful. So yeah, there are issues.
Yeah, actually, your passion is very inspiring towards your field, judging from the
Thank
way
you.
you're handling so many things at one point. Speaking of you working under your father for about 10 years, you were working as a paralegal. So I would like to know as how that experience shaped your communication skills or your research skills. In what way?
I would say it's not just about communication research skills. 90% of what I have is because how I got raised, right? I had that discipline thing in my mind. I used to wake up at 5 when I get a call from my father. And I used to sleep at 8 or 9 at one stage of my life, right? So there is very much discipline at my home. You need to sleep at this particular timing and you need to get up early morning. So I had that discipline, and whenever you're working, everything must be at the end of the day perfect. If you've tried it 10 times, he'll make you try it for 11th time to make it perfect. So at the end of the day, how you have got raised, that shows in your life. So it's not just about the research skills. And after that, there are few skills that you learn being with your family itself. For example, I saw around 50, 60 juniors working under him and leaving. And at the end of the day, I know what are the skills that you need to grow up as any person in life, because you don't know about that field. I don't think at the age of 10 or 11 I knew what law is. I just wanted to help my father and to get along with him. So I just started with putting the files at their places, because he works for around 15, 16 different insurance companies. So we manage the files accordingly. So how I initiated is with just a work of what you call as a peon. to just have that file placed at its place. And with time, I got along with everything. I observed how to make the written statements. I observed what a defense is. So I did not know about anything at all initially. And even when I was working with my father, I did not know these things are called research. When I came to my law school and I initiated struggling with things, I initiated researching on the mood problems. Even my first mood problem was on Motor Vehicle Act, so it was very easy for me to go with the consequential laws things. So at that particular stage, I got to know, okay, this is research. And then when I got along with Pooja ma'am and Khushbu ma'am, they shaped me to know the exact formats of research. This is called empirical research and this is called theoretical research. This is doctrinal, this is non-doctrinal. So I knew most of the things from the earlier stage, and I had the skills that may be very much able to form me. So I would say that 90% of what I am is because I worked with him, and for 7 to 8 long years, I have been with him to see how much he has struggled. So I had that courage into me to actually struggle with the things as he did, and to get along with it and to learn to live with it, to learn to live with working. So it is all about how I have been raised while working with him, and how that 7 to 8 years of that paralegal thing helped me. So at the end of the day, it's all about those 8 years what I am today, and not about these 3 years while I'm working.
Right, right. I'm pretty sure that that is exactly what got you so invested when it comes to your own Vidyagas publication.
Exactly.
Yeah. I would also like to ask you that when you are in your line of work as a student entrepreneur, are there any other entrepreneurs that you have come across who are students like yourself?
I do talk to one or two people every day, right? Who are student entrepreneurs. Some are working with me, some are not working with me. Sometimes they approach us with a partnership proposal. So yeah, I get along with people who are in this entrepreneurship things. But at the end of the day, I feel it's not about being a student entrepreneur, right? Because I see 600, 700 organizations have been started in last 6 months, right? It's not about being a student and entrepreneur. Every person has its own life apart from being the entrepreneur, and mine is being a student. Anyone there must be a second person who has his own family, and he wants to like spend his time with his family, the good 12 hours. So everyone do have the different proportions. It's about the time management which you do. And I came across one person who is not a student and is an entrepreneur, and he talked me about how he managed to get only 3 to 4 hours of work for this particular thing, and how he's running these things. So it's about time management, and I feel it would be very wrong for me to stay behind the wall saying that I am a student and I can do wrongs, right? Or I have that much issues. Everyone have issues, everyone have problems in their life. And being a student entrepreneur, I get along with entrepreneurs, I'll say. And every student that I meet with and is an entrepreneur, I meet them as an entrepreneur, and they are an entrepreneur to me. So yeah, I meet with people who are student and entrepreneurs.
Wow. Okay. Great. Great to know that. I also wanted to ask you that in this field of legal entrepreneurship, which is usually dominated by experienced lawyers or experienced individuals, how do you feel is the student representation going to be in the future in this field?
See, the representation of faculties, the advocates, the senior advocates, and students are important in the same manner. Let's take an example. Being an entrepreneur, I work on a lot of events, right? And at times, I forget to have that student point of view in that event. And that at that stage, Aniti comes to me, and if let's say there's some book that is getting delayed for 7 days, so as a student, she knows how a student would feel. So she gets along with us to understand at what particular time we should communicate, which email should be sent. So the student representation is very important. But seeing what's happening around today, I feel next 1 year is going to be very difficult for the legal entrepreneurship in terms of students, because there are many predatory organizations too. So to come across with a quality organization, there are students who are working really good in different organizations, no doubt. There are many student organizations which are really good. But the major issue that is in front of us is about the predatory organizations that are working for just 50, 70, 100 rupees. There are few, right? But they are, and they actually shows a lot of impact, because people don't respect or know about you because of them. So we need to get along with that. We need to make ourselves discoverable to people that student entrepreneurship is not about predatory things. It is about genuine student representation. And I feel in 10 years, this field will be dominated by students administrating the things, and advocates as well as faculties providing the experience, the knowledge to all of the people. So we'll get along very good. And as we can see in our organization, I work with at least 70 to 80 faculties and the advocates, right? And we get along very normally. Like faculties do address me as sir, and that is a very big deal. So even faculties and advocates know that if a certain student is working, they're working in some position, so they respect us instead of just showing that no, you are not too good, you haven't read. That's not the thing. They respected us. It's about how we maintain our quality and how we continue with it. But in a decade, I am certainly I'm very certain about the fact that the student representation will be very good and in a very qualitative manner.
Right. So, according to you, with your useful insight, we can conclude that every organization requires a merging of thoughts, whether it be whatever age gap between the individuals, there has to be a common goal, and that is what helps the organization develop.
Exactly.
Right. Right.
Exactly.
So, when we come to your creation, that is Vidyagas, why the name Vidyagas, and what inspired you to create?
It About the name, it's a very good story. Actually, I started it with four more people, right? Four more batchmates. So when we were struggling to know about the name, we had no name in our mind. So two of our persons, one is Isha and second is Gayatri. One came with the name Vidhi because it's a form of law, and the second came with Agaz, that there is a beginning of something new, because the publication was very new at that particular stage. Today people know that yes, we have to write a paper, or what exactly is a paper. There are good courses about research methodology, but at that particular stage there's nothing. So we while we were struggling, one came with Vidhi and the one came with Agas. So we initiated this with name because we were going to initiate something new in the field of law, that is the legal resource. That was our major aim. So the third person in our organization, she told us, why can't we just have both the names? We can initiate with the Agas thing. So yeah, we initiated with this. And I'm really sorry, I forgot your next part of the question. Can you please repeat that?
Yeah, what I was asking is, how has your journey been so far? Like in Vidyagas.
It's really good. It's really good, encouraging art, as well as I learned a lot of things. Initially, I had no team, no good team to work with, because at the end of the day, there must be some professionalism in the team. There must be hierarchy, right? So with time, we managed to get along with our team. Pooja ma'am was with us. She's editorial director today and she's working really good. We came across Anu Nityan. She joined us with very much hope and she's working for last 2 3 years. Then Nikita came. She's very good into editing. So we formed a team along with our journey. Initially, we were not that good, which we are today. I can surely say that you won't find any glitch in the quality or in the editorial of any part of Vidyagas right now. So initially we did not have. So I learned how to make a team and how to continue with a team. There were issues with the team in between, but yeah, we got along very well. Additionally, as I told you about the story of that conference, we got to know how to stand in front of issues that come to you, how to like stay strong with them. So that was a very good thing. And initially, let me tell you one thing. Initially, I was not very good into English. though I'm not very good into English right now also. But initially I was like that ubad khabad person who don't know anything about, and my grammar was like very bad. So in these 3 years, I learned a lot. I learned what a comma and a full stop is. I learned to read things. I learned to write things. I learned to communicate. I learned that it is not about being aggressive every time. So this journey will grow you up in a very different manner. I can't list it out, but yeah, if you're going on a journey of legal entrepreneurship, trust me, if you are okay with going with things and staying strong, you will learn a lot in your life. And at present, if I see myself 3 years back, I don't think I would even be able to talk to a Supreme Court advocate. And today I work with them, I discuss with them, and they propose me things. They don't dictate things, they propose me things, and I am the person who is deciding. So in these 3 years, I got that confidence to work, talk, and put up my point of view and to show that this is my organization and it's me who is working, and there's a hierarchy too. Because if there's no hierarchy, there will be issues at the end of the day. There will be one person who is deciding. There are different persons who give you the proposals, and it's on the basis of the proposals that you decide. As you see in the manner of prime minister too, a prime minister cannot decide about a country, right? It is the council of ministers whose mind there is, but it is upon the prime minister who decides things. So every journey is in itself connected, and every journey get you enriched with very difficult and very different things. So I see myself grown up, and I see myself as a person who can talk to people right now. I was very introvert initially. So yeah, the journey was really good. It was very enriching. It was very encouraging, and I feel I can stand in front of any problem that can come to me. So that's because of this journey only.
Right. So Vidhi Agas and this entire venture that you started out really helped hone your communication skills. And as
Exactly.
someone who could give orders, as someone who could expect things to be done on time, as someone who could open up to people, communicate your ideas, Vidhi Agas has really helped.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So when a student entrepreneur, when someone wants to become an entrepreneur, especially a student, the first thing that comes to everyone's mind is investment. How much of time, how much of energy, how much of money, how much of everything do you need to invest in this venture? How serious are you about it? So all these things, from your point of view, what is your take on it?
See, initially, I had no money. Trust me, I had just 10, 12,000 rupees. Since I was working with my father, so getting 10, 12,000 rupees wasn't that much issue for me. And I have always been a hesitant person to talk about money. I have always been hesitant to ask for money to my father, right? So I had 10, 12,000 rupees. I got myself registered, my organization. I got its trademark, right? And I started with the competition. I earned through it, and I put that amount in my website. Now comes the most difficult part. When I made my website, I did not had any knowledge about the IT world, right? I got it made through a friend of friend, and suddenly on one day, someone went into, I don't know what happened, but we had the hosting from a very reputed company, and it got deleted. A whole website was deleted, and I had no money. So at that particular stage, my father got to know about it, and he told me, he gave me 9,000 rupees, because those 9,000 rupees was what my investment in my website, right? So he told me a story. Actually, my father was an auto driver initially. For a few, while he was studying, he used to drive auto, and he used to get his own money. So he told me a story that when he was driving autos, other auto drivers used to put a nut in his engine so that he had to go and get his auto repaired. So at that stage, he did not have money, and his father gave it to him. So at the end of the day, even he did not very much support my thought of having an organization. He told me this story, and he gave me the money of 9,000 rupees. And that day, I got to know that I need to arrange money myself, and I am in no position to ask for more money from him, because he is like, it is not about just 9,000 rupees. It's just about the trust that I made. So after that, we earned the money through the organization, and every money that we have invested is through the organization only. And further about the money, we are at present, see, our work got into heights after the this lockdown thing too. So at present, we are developing a software to manage our journals in a more proper way, to manage the communication where we lag. So you're working in a good manner, and you are not just spending everything at your own. You will always have money to have a step-by-step growth in terms of money. So you need to earn from it after just dissolving 7 to 10,000 rupees to it. You need to earn from it, and you need to spend from it. You need to have your hands hold up. You can't buy clothes from your first amount that you receive. You can't buy cars in the first 5 lakh rupees you will receive, right? So it's about the investment of the money you receive. You must have those guts inside you. Now further about time, it's always going to be like you are busy into something, right? You're never going to be free. At present, even I am at home for last 5 6 months. I am busy, and I work around 14 15 hours a day, right? Not just in Vidyagas, in different things. So at the end of the day, even if you do not have your classes to attend, you will have to work, right? And even if your classes are there, like I said, like I went to my institute at 7, I came back at 2, I slept for 2 hours, and then I started working. So you need to manage your time, and as much as you can get at the initial stage, as much as you can get, whether it's 1 hour or 5 hour, work accordingly and take the work which you can manage. I can't have 5 competitions with the man force of people who can just have two competitions working, right? So take the work, go step by step, make a team, and then put that team into working and organize yourself in such a manner that you can have a look at everything, but you don't need to do everything. So time consumption is what you get, money consumption is what you receive from at the other end, right? If it is 10 rupees, invest it, don't look forward to earning it. So that's how money and the time management and consumption works.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
what was your third aspect?
This what amount, anything else that you would want to, add to, other than time and money, that you would want to add, that you invested into this venture? Any other important
It's
aspect?
just the time, money, and my mind. That's it. There was nothing more than that. I had a laptop which was 3 years, 4 years old. I just initiated with it. When it came to WordPress, I learned WordPress. Right? I wanted to make my own website and to update it. Every website that is like every website of our organizations, whether it is IJLMH, IJLSI, it has been designed by me only. So I learned website designing in between. I learned to speak English in between. So every work that comes to you, you need to be dissolved into it so much that you can learn about it, and you know at the end of the day what it is about and how to do it. So it's about the focus too. You will get a lot of time to do certain things, right? With your college life, you can just enjoy your college life at your college. You need to bifurcate the time. I used to do a lot of shit at the time of 7 to 2, and I used to work very in a very focused manner after 4 to 12 or 3 in the morning. So that's how you need to bifurcate the time too. So everything is just about your discipline as well as your focus. That's it.
Right. So the investment of time, money, everything into an organization or a venture gives you knowledge in return, basically.
Exactly. Knowledge, even I won't say that I don't earn money. I just finished filing my income tax for last year, and I'm going to file an advanced income tax for this year too, today itself. So at the end of the day, I did not earn at the initial 8 months, right? I had no money in my hand, not even a single rupee. I used to take money from my father to have my livelihood. Okay, so at the initial stage, there will be no money, but with time, you will earn money, you will earn respect, you will earn confidence, you will earn knowledge, you will earn the communication skills. There's everything in your life that is growing up. You won't stuck at a place if you are working. And at the end of the day, even if your startup fails, let's say if Vidhi Agas would have failed at the initial time, I did learn about the team and the time management at initial 1 month only, and I knew where I failed. So, and I failed in many things in between. Even with the Aga's work, I failed into many small steps, right? So you get to know what your failures are and what you are good into. So at the end of the day, initiating with an organization won't make you lose anything. You are always going to earn a lot of things from it, whether it gets to success or whether it fails.
Right, exactly. That's the whole point of it. It is just moving forward, no matter what the results are, just working for better.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. And you will get better.
Yeah,
There's no question to it. You will get better.
everyone has a chance. Everyone has second chances. Everyone gets to move ahead in life.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you have expanded Vidyagas to CLRS, and you also have your own publication. So this is a very challenging thing, expansion within legal entrepreneurship. So what prompted you to make such decisions?
The expansion, I think, is the worst thing I ever had. Generally, it took my whole day and nights. I had sleepless nights for around 30, 40 days to expand my organization because you have limited man force, you have limited manpower, and when you expand, you need to have a certainly different venture kind of thing because you have different heads, different teams working for it. And at the end of the day, you are going to see around if everything is working fine. At CLRS too, we are working on a few things. We lack the communications there, and we are working to make it more better. And with time, as I said, we are developing a software so that we can communicate with our consumers as well as the students in a very good manner. So you will face challenges, and with every expansion, there will be a failure. There won't be any expansion where you won't feel the failure, right? There will be failure in smaller steps. It's just about when you take decisions, you need to know uh, how much people you have, whether you will be able to work to it or not, and everything should be in a stepwise manner. As I said, you can't just have 50 courses brought up, and you can't just market 50 courses at a time. Because when I initiated with CLRS, I won't lie, it actually hampered with my publication thing. So I had to, because in IJLMS, what I do is I manage everything on a very diluted manner. So I did not have much issues in IJLMS, but with IJLSI, we missed one issue in between. So there were issues of communication as well as working with that manpower. But yeah, at the end of the day, the expansion decisions should be taken when you know that there will be small failures, but not a bigger one, and which you believe, and when you believe that you have certain idea of an organization which will work and which is the need of the society right now. So if you are just planning it out for a month or so, you will be very good into working to it. And that is the major lacuna I see in the law students initiating with the entrepreneurship right now. They get the idea of entrepreneurship one day and they launch the organization on the third day. They don't plan. Uh, I'm not speaking about everyone, but yeah, every organization that fails. You need to plan it for a few days, plan every aspect, how you are going to manage that particular organization, how will be the workflow of money because you will need to spend. Even if you just have a website, it will take hosting every year, right? So you need to plan it out and you need to continue with every expansion this season too. You need to work it out on the man force as well as the amount of money you are going to invest and what is the aspect of that particular organization or particular expansion in the field. So that's all you need to think about.
Yeah, because
Though it's a hard decision to expand.
there is a huge leap between planning and then making it happen. Lot of
Exactly. And you need to believe on luck too, because at the end of the day, you have the plans, but it may go anywhere. So be ready for failures too. If you fail, try to accept that failure and to work on a better plan if there's an expansion or even if there's a new organization. So that's all I'll say about it.
okay. So we also saw that even from a Supreme Court advocate, faculty to normal law students, everyone is choosing your journals to get published. How did you manage to develop it in the midst of so many student-run journals? And when there is a common conception that all paid journals are not useful, how did you manage to go about this?
I'll take this question in two aspects. First, a student run journal, and secondly, a paid journal. By student-run journal, we generally mean that it is a predatory journal because students do not know much about the publication thing. And as a private organization, as every private organization, it becomes very difficult to manage a team of faculties or an advocate to review the papers and to edit those papers. That is really a very difficult thing. But if you have a leap of faith in yourself that yes, you are going to do it in a very qualitative manner, no matter how much time it takes to get the paper reviewed and edited, right? And the, if you visit the website of International Journal of Law Management and Humanities, or even if you visit the website of our second journal, we'll see there's a quality. In first look, you can't say that the journal is predatory or we are not editing things or we are not formatting things. Even Shruti introduced me to your organization. She worked for my organization as a intern for 1 month, and she knows how much quality we maintain. Initiating with a student the editing part, we get it to the level of faculties as well as advocates too. So it's just about the ethics you follow. If you're following your ethics and if you are getting into the publication field with those ethics, if you are going to review and edit the paper, everyone will come to you. And at the end of the day, you need to have those faculties provide insights. We could not have been into these designs or this very fondness of working if it were not for faculties and the advocates that are associated. They know what exactly they see when they go into the journal. So since we have a good number of advocates as well as faculties working with us and actively working with us, it's not about they just provide us with the insights. They work on the designs and the editing part too. They review the papers too. So if you have such a great and a wonderful team, you get along with it. And when you have ethics in your organization, I'm pretty much sure that you will get along with a good journal. Yes, the establishment of journal takes time. As I said earlier too, the authority to form as a student takes time. But when you are working good, the work speaks for you. It's not you who speaks for yourself. And that's what I feel the faculties and the advocates see. And genuinely, when we receive the response after publication that it has been a very great experience for them, and when those faculties get back to us for a second paper publication, our team gets really happy with that because we are working in such a large scale. And I can say that the number of papers that we receive, no private organization working on any law journal in India is receiving. We publish around 200 and 230 paper in an issue, and we receive around 900 to 1000 papers, whereas we initially used to receive 60 papers in an issue, and we have published issues of 10 to 20 papers only. So at the end of the day, it's just the quality you maintain and the ethics you follow in your organization that makes you better. And that's how even Manu Patra indexed the International Journal of Law Management and Humanities. So getting recognition from Manu Patra that is so much established, that was also a very big deal for us because at the end of the day, if your quality pays off, that is the best thing you can always have. So it's all about the quality as well as the ethics we follow that made us develop our journals in such a large scale.
Right. I would also want to know that building upon this answer of yours, when you're heading a team full of faculty members, full of students, there must be some internal challenges, no matter how well you all work together. There must be some internal challenges that you might have faced heading this. Can you just give us an insight on how you dealt with?
At See, at internal level, right? Initially, there will be difficulties because you need to prove yourself, right? But at one stage, everyone who adds on to your organization, right? Every faculty that has been added, every advocate that has been added, I've seen a positive aspect in them. They wanted to learn through the papers, they wanted to work for the journal, and they wanted to work along with me. They had no shame in working with a student or on an organization which is being run by a student. The first time they talked with me, I always talk to people before having them in the organization and in my team, whether it is a small student too, right? So when they started working with us, when they saw that there's an hierarchy, when they saw that everything they say will be heard, and if it is rejected, will we provide them with the reasons of rejection. Right? We talk to them, and at times it happens that they are not satisfied with the reasons, right? But let me tell you, every faculty and every advocate working with us, they're really good into accepting the decisions, and they're really good into understanding how the team works. Though at times, what happens is, about the issues in the team, we did have one student who came to us and who we accepted as a part of our team. She was really good. And then after a certain period of time, she wanted to just talk to me and no one else. And after that, she was like, I want to head the particular thing, and no one in my team would be able to get along with me. So these kind of challenges happen, but that at that particular stage, the contract you do with people come into the picture. You can remove the person after giving them a particular time period to evolve themselves. You can work on them, but if it doesn't happen, the terms in your contract work really well, and you need to have the guts to take the difficult decisions to remove people. You see, at the instance when there is social media, anyone can go out and can say anything, right? So as an organizations, we also fear, what if someone tells anything wrong about us which we haven't done even. So there are fears, right? But if you've provided them, if you've provided them with a certain number of times where they can evolve, if you have everything in your desktop, if you have every record with you, I don't feel, and the contract part too, I don't feel there will be any issue in removing the people too, and in evolving them too. So you need to work on them. If it doesn't work well, you need to cut that piece out from your team so that your team can work in a very good manner. So that's how it works internally.
Right, right. It's the single. It's not the single piece that matters in a machinery. It's every component in itself.
Exactly. See, like we say, if there's one apple which is not good, it will just affect all the other apples, right? If one person is not working with a productive manner and there's no reason for him to be unproductive, you need to remove that person. Otherwise, other people won't have that respect for you and for the organization too, because they're working at their level best to make the organization grow. And truly speaking, as I said, about Anuli, people even working without money. These they get they get the honorarium only when they work actively, and that amount is also very small, right? Because there are 50, 60 faculties, I said, and to provide them with the amount, it is very small. So I will say that they are not working for money, they are working for the work. So if someone else gets into that particular era and start like doing anything and everything, it will be an issue in your team because they all are working with a goodwill. So you need to maintain that goodwill, and you need to remove that apple from the basket which is creating those issues. So that's how it works.
Right. And seeing upon the success of Vidyagas, what do you think is the future, the long-term goals for your organization, and are there any other ventures that you wish you would want to take up in the near future?
As of now, we are looking forward to develop our own software that manages the complete review and editorial aspects. So, see, the major issues we face is about communication. When we take papers through, let's say, any Google form or through email IDs, we need to manage them with the emails itself. So, we are developing a software where they can get intimated about everything at every aspect. We are working on a UI which is so good that they don't feel any issues while submitting the paper, where we can transparently have the review and the editing aspects too. So for a short term goal, we are developing a software, and we are developing a publication system to work very smoothly, and we are automating a few things, right? So that is a short term goal. We need to develop our publication system in our country. And for a long term goal, we are going to have that software organized in such a manner that others can also use it, so that they can even be able to have a good software to have their own journals and to work on it. And further, we initiated with the courses, we are working on it. And there's one more venture we are working under Vidyagas itself. but I cannot tell you about that particular venture because we are still on the planning phase, and I even do not have the exact part of what we are going to do. But yes, there's something really good coming up, and that will be the first completely free aspect of Vidya Agas. There will be no money to be provided by students, by faculties. There will be no crowdfunding. It will be completely funded by Vidya Agas through the money we get, and I hope it will help our students to develop the skills of researching as well as many other skills. Hope you get to know about it very soon.
That's really great to hear. We'll be all waiting for it when it comes out. Um, I want to ask you that the COVID pandemic has really made it very difficult for everyone's work life and every sphere of their business or entrepreneurship, whichever venture that they are going for. It's made it very difficult to manage things. So, has that had a drastic impact on your organization? Has it made some goals unattainable in any way?
Uh, Contrary to that, it has made my work very easy. See, I do not have to go to the institute for learning, right? I have my online classes that I attend. I have more time to work on it. And as I said, we were already working from home. All the faculties are from different institutes, different part of India as well as foreign, right? So we already wasn't working from an office or from a particular place. We were working from home, so it was really good to us. And even the pandemic gave us more time to think about the work and to have, like I said about this development of the software, right? That idea would not have been crossed my hand ahead if I have been very busy into going to the college and then getting drained up, right? So I have more time to work. I have no time limitations to get up or to sleep. I have a lot in my hands that I wouldn't have if there wasn't pandemic. So pandemic has been a blessing for me in terms of business, but I pray this pandemic ends as soon as possible because have, I mean, being at home and not being able to get out at any place, that actually hampers your mind and your ideas too. So though it helped us, we pray that it goes away in very like we get some vaccine very soon. Otherwise, it will be very hard for all of us to deal with it because there are many mental issues that it is creating to each one of us, I feel. So, but yeah, in the work point of view, it has been a blessing to us instead of being a unattainable goals. So yeah, it has been a blessing.
Right, right. I think many of us can relate to the fact that we want this pandemic to end so that normal life can be resumed as soon as possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, other than Vidyagas, what advice would you like to give law students who like to venture into the field of entrepreneurship? Any important things that you would want them to know in every sphere of their planning and their execution?
See, what I see is the lack of quality in the student organizations because there is a lack of planning. As of now, I'm not speaking about every organization, as I said, but they are great organizations. When you start being an entrepreneur, when you start with something, it is about the loophole. When we started, the publication was very new. There were no good journals. There was no good private journals. We needed to wait a month or 2 months to actually get one paper published, which they've written for 6 to 7 months. There was no particular place where we can learn about these researching skills. So at that particular stage, initiating with a journal was the best thing we could have done. And you can see it about every successful venture. Loctopus started when there was no website to tell us about the opportunities. There are many copied websites which have started now. If you need to start with a website like Loctopus, like innovate with it. No, get into some issues that Loctopus has, and then initiate with something so that you can give a good fight to it, right? Same as in the case of journals. Every law student is initiating with its own journal, and there is no faculty with them. There is no review process. There is no editorial process. There is nothing. And instead of developing this field, they are just demolishing this field because every student entrepreneur who have a journal, like see, we got into a position where we cannot be at first instance be said that you are wrong, right? you are not following these process. But every new student will have to face those things, because it was 3 years back when we started with a journal. So you should see the loopholes that are here. Like, there are many loopholes in the legal industry that needs to be filled, right? Initiate with a venture that fills that particular loophole, and not just copy paste something that you see. Otherwise you may earn like a lakh or 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs or more, right? But it won't be survivable. You won't earn 50 or 100 lakhs rupees in term of next 10 or 20 years, which I feel your motive should be if you are initiating with entrepreneurship. So my first advice would be to see for the quality, plan everything, and then come to the field. Don't come unannounced and without plan. Have a good understanding that you need to provide time to it, and you can't just go away with the time. And you need to be dedicated and disciplined. You need to follow the hierarchy. If you don't follow the hierarchy, if everyone is at the same level in your organization, it won't work. So there are few things which you need to have in your checklist, and then be a legal entrepreneur. But yeah, plan for all of these things from prior. Otherwise it won't work, and you will be another student organization in the field of law that is working. You will just have webinars and nothing else then.
Right, right. Those were very, very useful insights about the field of legal entrepreneurship. And I think that with this conversation, we can sum up to these points that every venture, in order to be successful, requires dedication, focus, time management, and a lot of passion for whatever work
Exactly.
that you are
Yeah.
investing time in anything. And you require a lot of, there are a lot of hurdles that one might face when one comes through this sort of point in their lives, when they want to be an entrepreneur and when they want,
Yeah.
whether it's a cakewalk, it's not going to be a cakewalk. It's going to be the good things and the bad things that you have to deal with, the challenges that you have to face and the challenges that you have to overcome. But all
Yeah.
in all, I think I agree with all of your insights, and I feel that even from the audience point of view, that you are a very passionate person who has managed to achieve so much in so little time, and
Thank you.
hopefully we'll be getting to see more and more of your success and more of your advancement and expansion in the field of legal entrepreneurship. It was really, really great having a conversation with you today,
Same here.
and all your insights were very, very useful and will be very, very useful for anyone willing to start something new in their life and still being unsure about it and not knowing how to go through about it. So, from the behalf of Lexavon, I really thank you for giving your time here today and for giving us.
I'm really thankful to you, even because I haven't seen most of the ventures working to tell other students who are initiating with it. Because the major issue in our field is there's no advice that can be provided. I receive LinkedIn messages regarding the advices, but it doesn't get available to people. And what you people are doing is really great. And these insights I feel will help the students, because when I initiated, I did not about the teamwork. It was like I alone am working, and there won't be much work. So there are a lot of things that I learned, and through your platform, I'm really happy that I was being able to provide this to students, anyone who is initiating with the entrepreneurship. And I'm really thankful to you for providing me with this opportunity.
Thank you very, very much for all of your time and for all of the energy that you invested in today's interview. I would also like to wish you all the very best from all our behalf for whatever future ventures that you might attempt and whatever you might try to expand. Thank you very much for your time. And back to
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.